Whether thou art a ghost that hath come from the earth, or a phantom of night that hath no home, or one that lieth dead in the desert, or a ghost unburied, or a demon, or a ghoul, whatever thou be until thou art removed, thou shalt find here no water to drink. Thou shalt not stretch forth thy hand to our own. Into our house enter thou not. Through our fence break through thou not. We are protected, though we may be frightened. Our life you may not steal, though we may be scared to death.
Welcome to Scared to Death, Creeps, Peepers, Roberts, and Annabelles. I'm Dan.
Hello, Dan. I'm Lulu Marie.
Hello, Lulu Marie.
Hello, sir.
You have one quick announcement about Wet Hot Bad Magic Summer Camp, and then we are off into so much horror.
Yes, I can't wait. Just a quick reminder to keep tuning in because next week we'll be sharing all of the details about Wet Hot Bad Magic Summer Camp 2026. So keep paying attention to the show, to socials, and if you get our emails, be checking there because we're going to be sharing all the information in all the places.
Yes.
And that's it.
And how many listener tales do you have this week, Lulu Marie?
Do you want to guess?
2. I'm going to say 2.
Guess what?
Am I right?
You're so wrong.
Oh.
I have 4.
Whoa, little ones.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Yes, my first tale is about a ghost who takes directions, which I find to be very funny.
Okay.
My second tale is about ghosts in the graveyard, which is fun. Not the game. My third tale is about a sister's doppelganger. And my fourth tale is about a woman in the window.
All right.
Bada boom, bada bing, bada bang.
For my first of 2, we will head to Malvern Manor, set in the little town of Malvern, Iowa. Reportedly, it's one of the most haunted places in the state. Paranormal investigators and the supernaturally curious alike keep traveling to Malvern to explore claims of disembodied voices, pounding footsteps, things that move when no one's touching them, the unmistakable sensation of a cold hand pressing into your back, and Hank's room, the most infamous space in the whole place. And then we're going to head to China to hear an old story about an exceptionally beautiful woman who turns out not to be a woman at all. While most people dismiss it as folklore, there are whispers that she is real, that she's still out there, and that she is actually many. And I won't say more than that.
Okay.
So if you're once you're spooked up with this week's socks and feeling good and cozy, ready for some horror, I'll get started.
Oh no, it's your
Pennywise.
It's your least favorite guy.
I know, such a good villain.
I know.
One of the best of all time.
I listened to Stephen King being interviewed about the 100 best movies of our century or something. I forget the parameters. He has a funny voice.
He does. Yeah.
I've never heard him speak, and I was like, oh, okay. Funny as in it didn't match what I thought it would sound like.
He speaks like a guy who does a lot of writing.
He speaks like a guy who doesn't do a lot of speaking.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so this I'll just get started. This first story takes us to the southwest corner of Iowa, to the small farming town of Malvern, a place frozen in time, full of roughly 1,000 people, and a main street lined with beautiful old brick buildings, most of which have seen better days, with more and more of them empty each year. Buildings full of more memories and ghosts than businesses and living people. Buildings like Malvern Manor, a brooding, foreboding structure located at the corner of Main and 3rd. Malvern, the town, grew up around the railroad, and like a lot of communities on the prairie, it threw its hopes behind tracks and timetables. The building we now call Malvern Manor was originally a hotel when it opened in the mid-1800s. Local histories and multiple investigators identified as the Cottage Hotel, serving traveling salesmen, random railroad passengers, and farm families rolling into town with a coating of dust on their boots and a little bit of cash in their pockets. When cars took over and rail traffic thinned, when it became much easier to just drive the extra 30 miles to the outskirts of Omaha, Nebraska, the hotel faded, changed hands more than once, and even took on some new names for a while. In the mid-20th century, it made its first big pivot, first into a rest home, and by the late 1950s, it was operating as a nursing home. In time, it transitioned again into a residential care facility for people with physical and mental disabilities, finally closing for good in 2005. Paranormal teams and journalists who have toured the property in the years since 2005, there is a owner who keeps it up for paranormal investigations. They often repeat the same refrain. Residents died here, a lot of them, and some have stayed in spirit and never left. The names of various spirits get whispered over and over by ghost hunters and locals who believe in the paranormal. The captain, a former hotel employee, a woman called Grace or Gracie, said to have struggled with multiple personalities who lived at the manor when it was a residential treatment facility, a child presence often associated with a tragic figure named Inez, and the most infamous, and the only one that seems to be legitimately feared, Hank, old, cruel, and territorial. Remembered for pelting kids and women with rocks from the porch when he was still alive, and growling and more at many who have dared to step inside his room since he died. The list of what people who have claimed to actually experience the paranormal inside Malvern Manor, what they claim is long and consistent. Voices echoing from empty rooms, the thud of footsteps when the hallway is still, doors latching, lights stuttering, objects shifting on their own, and the unmistakable moment when something cold and unseen brushes your sleeve or presses you in between your shoulder blades. Investigators have reported being touched, pushed, pinched, and even scratched. This isn't one of those, we felt a weird vibe kind of places. It's a location where people routinely report intense physical interactions. If you feel brave enough to tour Malvern Manor or book an overnight paranormal investigative stay, the people who steward the building will likely tell you the same practical things. Be respectful, don't taunt, don't run, not exactly sure what's going on with that one, but it creeps me out, and stay with your group. They'll also tell you that what happens is different for everybody. Some nights the place will be as quiet as a shut book, and you won't even pick up on any bad energy or vibes. Other nights, for reasons no one seems to understand, the place comes alive with bangs, whispers, and paranormal equipment that will not sit still. Now that I provided some context, let's get really creepy with a detailed modern encounter claim. The storyteller here claims to be a 31-year-old EMT named Erin. She posted her claim after a public overnight, or at least attempted one, at Malvern Manor last year. In responding to comments beneath her claim, she makes it clear that she is not a paranormal investigator. She's a practical medical professional from Council Bluffs, Iowa, who wanted to go on a spooky little adventure over the weekend with a friend before life yanked her back to 12-hour shifts, drinking cheap, strong coffee from a plastic cup. In one comment, she wrote, "I don't scare easy. I see awful things at work. It's not ghosts that keep me up, it's heart monitors that flatline." But Malvern Manor scared her nonetheless. Time now for the tale of Leave Hank Alone. Erin's best friend Caro talked her into the overnight tour. They'd watched the manor on a couple of ghost hunting channels, laughed at the jump cuts, argued about whether an EMF spike actually means anything. After one especially rough month at work for Erin, they booked 2 spots on a guided investigation. The tour company required everyone to sign waivers, no running. There's that weird running waiver warning again. No going outside alone. Bring a flashlight. Wear closed-toe shoes, and do not sit on the beds. "Don't sit on the beds" would be repeated like a mantra, Erin wrote, especially in Hank's room. The night they went, a thunderstorm glowed and thumped far off in the distance. You could see the occasional white strike of lightning through the upstairs windows. In the entryway, the guide, a bearded guy in his 30s who introduced himself as Chris, gave the small group a quick primer. Hotel to nursing home to residential care. Some of the residents were dumped here by their families who couldn't handle them, he said. Some were kind, some were not. And some, like Hank, were a real problem for everyone. Erin said they started in the first floor halls, stepping around relics that now looked staged but were once practical. Metal basins, mismatched chairs, wall plates for old call buttons long dead. And that's when the very first experience was encountered. Erin said she felt the temperature drop as they approached the nurse's station. She shivered, looked at Caro, who shrugged, and tugged her sweatshirt sleeves over her hands. And before she had finished adjusting her sweatshirt, a woman to her left pointed and gasped, "The door just moved." But when she and the rest of the group turned, it was only gently swaying to a stop. Erin wrote, "I was telling myself, old building, pressure changing, and that door probably wasn't latched. But then something much harder to dismiss happened." She wrote, "Something tapped the back of my neck. I spun so fast my ponytail whipped, and Carol laughed because I almost walked into her. Whatever had tapped her was gone, if it was ever really there at all." The group now moved to a small room with a child's bed, faded wallpaper with pale blue flowers, and a cracked hand mirror on the dresser. Chris the guide told a quick story about a girl named Inez. And when he was done, another guest, a short guy in a Hawkeyes hoodie, set a cat ball on the floor and asked, "Inez, can you roll that for us?" The ball lit, flickered, and then went dark. Nothing big, but along with everything else, maybe a tiny bit more proof that they weren't alone in the building. When Kristen asked where people wanted to spend more time during the, quote, quiet hours, Erin surprised herself by saying, Hank's room. She wrote that she doesn't totally know why she said that. Maybe it was the way the guide had talked about him, contempt mixed with caution. Like a dog you'd cross the street to avoid your whole life and finally decided to face. Chris didn't seem surprised. Almost every group wanted to encounter Hank, until they didn't. He led Erin and the others up a narrow staircase. They drifted past a door with a paper name tag still taped beside it, and then paused at a small landing where the wood had been worn soft by years of shoes. From there, a short corridor ended in a door marked with a printed sign, Hank. And when Erin stepped into the room, bare bulb, single bed pushed against the wall, sagging dresser and a nondescript window looking out over a quiet street, she claimed she felt it. Contempt. Like a hand on her scalp pushing her down, and another on her throat telling her to shut up. I'm not psychic, she wrote. I've never been one to jump on any kind of woo-woo trend. I'm interested in ghosts for sure, but also very skeptical. But when I walked into that room, I felt something I can't explain or rationalize away. There was a presence there, and it hated me in a way that felt personal. Hank didn't need any provocation to be cruel, Chris had said, and now she believed that. He next addressed the group and told them to keep their questions short and respectful. Also, do not sit on his bed. Don't get cornered between the dresser and the window, and if you start to feel overwhelmed, step into the hall and take a breath. The group thinned out. 2 women went down the hall to check out another room where past investigators have said a woman once plucked out her hair from her head in front of a mirror, all of it. The guy in the Hawkeyes hoodie trailed the guide to set up a static camera, and that left Erin and Caro in Hank's room with just one additional guest, a quiet guy in his 50s wearing a denim jacket and holding a handheld recorder. And now Caro started asking questions, starting with the most standard one. Hank, are you with us? Quiet. The next question was a little less benign. Hank, we heard you didn't like women. Is that true? A floorboard immediately creaked when Caro was done talking not far from the bed, and Erin felt the temperature tilt a bit colder. After everyone stood around in silence for a bit, looking a little anxious but also excited, this kind of thing was why they'd come after all, the guy in the denim jacket said he was going to try asking Hank if he ever sat on the porch. Erin wrote that he only got as far as, Hank, did you? When something snapped in the air and they all heard a crack. Erin claimed it was like when your kid's sister snaps you on the back of the leg with a towel. The man winced and grabbed his right hand with his left. Ow, he said, staring at the underside of his wrist. 3 pink lines were already rising there, thin and parallel. Before Erin could even fully process what had happened, something pushed her in the back, hard enough to cause her to pitch forward and bump into the dresser. The top of the dresser was gritty with dust, and a small glass ashtray clinked against something, an old coin maybe. And then the ashtray tipped, rolled, and started wobbling in a slow circle. Nope, Erin said she said out loud. She wrote, and Hank, if that's who this was, seemed to breathe into the room, like, oh, you'll be the one, and I hated that it got to me. She turned, fighting the urge to bolt, and told Caro after she made sure she was okay and didn't need to leave, let's do 1 EVP, and then I need a break. Caro nodded. The denim jacket guy, who was looking pretty freaked out now, held the recorder low, like it was a fragile animal. Erin took a breath and asked, Hank, you ever throw rocks at little girls from the porch? The air in the room seemed to tighten somehow, and there was this feeling of someone standing close enough to fog your glasses. During this atmospheric shift, something scraped under the bed. It made a sound that wasn't quite a knock, more like a shoe sole being dragged across rough wood. Don't sit on the bed, Caro whispered, more to herself than anyone else. Erin drifted towards the bed without even really meaning to, drawn to its dingy blanket. She reached out a hand and hovered it above the corner of the mattress, not touching, just close enough to see her shadow dim against the brown fabric. Then she jerked back when the bed twitched. Not the mattress, just the blanket, an inch or so, like something underneath had caught it with 2 fingers and tugged. Nope, she said again, and now she wanted to get the fuck out. At least out of that particular room, for the moment anyway. She, Caro, and denim jacket guy stepped into the hall where the chill eased a notch and the air felt different, lighter. It was like how your ears pop when you're driving down a hill and you suddenly realize you didn't even know what kind of pressure you were feeling before. Down the stairs, Erin heard someone laugh. She wanted to believe it was a guide or a different guest, but it sounded brittle and too loud. Had she just heard another ghost? It seemed she had. The guide came walking down the hall, not from where Erin had just heard that laugh, with a Hawkeyes fan, who kept glancing at his camera screen. "Look at this. Did the curtain just move?" he asked, replaying a few seconds in a loop while his finger jabbed at a pale rectangle by the window. Erin didn't want to get sucked into a frame-by-frame debate or get into a pissing contest over who had just had the most intense paranormal experience. She just wanted some fresh air. So she and Caro walked outside and took 5 minutes on the front stoop, where the porch boards were slick with cool humidity. Across the street, a tall elm snarled itself against the sky. The two women from the other room soon joined them, one rubbing her elbow, the other shaking out her hand. The elbow rubber explained that she had just lifted a hand mirror off the dresser just to see what would happen, and the room had gone sour, like bad breath blowing across old pennies. She put it back. No more mirror games, she said. When they went back inside, Carol wanted to do some more exploring back in Hank's room. She was blown away by what they'd already experienced and wanted to find out what else they might encounter. Erin didn't want to go back up, but Carol talked her into it. "We drove all this way," she said. "Let's see what happens." Upstairs again, the hallway felt different, emptier maybe, but sharper, like all the house's attention had been pulled into a point and was waiting. Erin felt it at the base of her skull. They passed the room with the child's bed where one of the cat balls glowed under a chair, then went dark. Hank's door stood open. The window rattled once, lightly, then sighed quiet. Erin and Caro didn't cross the threshold this time. They stood in the hall just outside, looking in at the empty room. The corner of the bed where the blanket had twitched now looked dull and deflated. "Okay," Caro said softly. "Hank, we're not here to bug you. We just want to understand." A soft single tap was heard from under the bed. And then a few moments later, as both Caro and Erin stared in that direction, 2 more taps were heard in a quick pair. "Did you hear that?" Caro asked. Erin did, and she made the mistake of leaning forward, bracing a hand flat on the door jamb. From that angle, she could see fully under the bed, dust bunnies, a bottle cap, something like a big sliver of wood, and for a quick second that made her stomach lurch, the tips of 2 fingers, pale and flat, just barely visible past the shadowed frame. They were gone before she could blink, but she's positive that she had not imagined seeing them, or the way they curled as they slid back. Fleshy fingers, not some trick of fabric or shadow, fingertips. The thought made her mouth flood with metallic saliva. "I need water," she said, and Caro nodded and they backed away. As they made their way to the top of the stairs to head back down, the guide, Chris, intercepted them. "You okay?" he asked, reading Erin's upset expression. She told him what she saw and felt the embarrassment in her throat as soon as the words were out. But the guide didn't smirk. He didn't ask if she was sure. What he said in all seriousness was, "Hank grabs ankles." Erin and Caro went downstairs, got water from a cooler, and then came back up. Erin was scared, but also a little irritated, pissed. Neither she nor Caro wanted to end the tour on a moment like that. Chris offered to join them briefly now just to set the tone, and Erin felt an absurd rush of gratitude. Back in Hank's doorway again, Chris announced himself, used his name, and reminded Hank that the rules were the rules. "These are our guests," he said in a calm, practiced voice. "You can let us know you're here without hurting anyone." He set a small flashlight on the dresser, one of those twist cap types, and asked Hank to turn it on. Nothing. He then set a cat ball on the floor and nudged it with his toe, just so everyone could see how much force it took to light. "If you're still here," he said into the room, "make that flash." The light flickered, then went dark. Chris grinned. "Okay, fair enough. But remember, no touching." They gave it 2 more minutes, no movement, no taps, just a gritty, waiting quiet, and then the guide excused himself to check on the others. He left the cat ball where it was, and here's where the story shifts. "When he left, it got colder," Erin wrote, "and there was a smell, not like rot, like old sweat and stale aftershave, and I don't know, like a cigar that never got lit. It made the back of my throat feel sticky." While Erin refused to step back into the room, remaining standing at its edge, Caro, braver or maybe angrier, apparently took 2 steps onto the scuffed wood and said, "Hank, you're a bully. You're not going to scare us off." Tap under the bed again. And then tap, tap again. And another sound of a faint scuff. "Caro," Erin whispered, "stop." I'm not scared, Carol told her before she took another step deeper into the room, putting her foot near the bed's corner. I'm not a little kid. I'm not going to run from the ghost of a man who throws rocks, she said. Tap. Aaron swallowed. Carol, please. Make him prove it, Carol said, a brittle edge in her voice that Aaron recognized from long drives home after bad shifts. It was a voice that says, you don't get to win tonight. Hank, if you're really here, do something, she dared. The cat ball stayed dark for a beat. 2, 3, then it lit and started rolling. Not a huge movement, just a slow roll towards Carol's shoe before stopping. Okay, Carol said, voice suddenly small. Okay. Aaron watched the blanket corner lift as if something underneath inhaled, just a breath, and lowered again. She saw the mattress dip, not much, but still enough to telegraph some weight. The window ticked in its frame. Out! Aaron hissed. Out! Carol, to her surprise, listened. The two backed out into the hall. A moment later, the door swung half closed as if pushed from the inside, then drifted back and stopped. It didn't latch. It didn't need to. Can we go? Carol asked. The bravado had snapped out of her. I want to go. They went downstairs, collected their things, told the guide thank you, and that they were done for the night. And he nodded and said, Hank can be rough. No shame in calling it. Then Erin made the choice that still bothers her. She went back up yet again. Not all the way, not to stand in the doorway, but to the foot of the stairs where she could see Hank's threshold from a cautious angle. She raised her phone, took 2 quick pictures. She didn't expect to see anything. She didn't want to. She just felt compelled to do that before they drove home. Later, in the parking lot of a Taco John's, she and Caro scrolled through the shots. Both frames were muddy and dim. The phone's night mode had done its best with what it had. In the first picture, the bed looked untouched. In the second, same angle, just a half step closer, something strange sat on the blanket, right where the mattress had dipped. I thought it was the ashtray at first, Aaron wrote, but we left that on the dresser. This was small and round and wrong, like a rock but smooth, and shiny in one spot. It had a little dim hollow, she paused, like a pupil. Aaron put her phone away. They drove too fast and too quiet, blinking into the dark void of the highway out in front of the headlights. Aaron slept at Carol's place because she didn't want to go home alone. And then she dreamt of lying on a hard mattress while someone sat on her chest and counted her teeth out loud. In the morning, they looked again. The picture wasn't sharper after sleep. The object could have been a shadow wrinkle. Could have been a stray glare. Could have been a trick of the lights, but that's not what Aaron believes. She thinks that somehow she saw an eye, not attached to a skull, but still looking around the room and seeing her. 2 days after their visit, Aaron swore she heard pebbles hit the glass of her apartment window, 2, then 3, like a bored teenager. She lives on the second floor and there's no easy way to get to her windows from outside. When she checked, there was nothing on the sill. The pain felt cold against her palm, colder than it should have on a late spring afternoon. 2 additional nights later, she said she woke at 3:11 a.m. to the sensation of weight pressing into the mattress near her knees. Not her cat, heavier, a lot heavier. The indentation was slow and deliberate, like someone easing down just far enough to make a point. She didn't move. She breathed through her nose and counted to 60, counted again, then reached without looking for the flashlight she keeps on the nightstand. She clicked it on, flooded the bed in a cone of mild LED light, saw nothing but the shape of the blanket smoothing itself flat. And then she cried. Not much, just some exhausted tears that made her angry at herself. She got up, walked around her apartment with the flashlight, checked the lock she already knew was latched, and then she sat in the kitchen until the sky softened to that thin gray that suggests morning is coming. She tried to tell herself it was just stress, that she had gone to a place famous for reactions and then she had a reaction, and was still shaken up. She told herself she didn't need to feed the thing, not with attention, not with fear, and not with time. And for a while that strategy worked, and she started to feel better. Then, because she's practical and because curiosity sometimes wears a sensible face, Aaron wrote to the group that hosted the overnight. She asked as neutrally as she could whether anyone else had reported any lingering after effects after time in Hank's room. The reply she got back was short and careful. It's rare, they wrote, but people sometimes report a sense of being watched for a few days. It usually fades. They suggested a simple boundary ritual. Open the front door, say out loud that nothing from Malvern was welcome to follow her, sprinkle a little salt in the threshold, and step through without looking back. Aaron did all that. She felt both silly and strong at the same time. And now she wonders if it worked. The pebble taps have never been heard since. The blanket has stayed still at night. She let herself check that photo again, and this time she didn't see an eye, just a wrinkle. But that doesn't mean she now doubts she experienced the paranormal that night, and some nights afterwards. She wrote, "It's like that house is a living thing, a body that breathes weird. You step into one chamber and it's sternum tight and mean. You step down the hall and it lets you go. Hank's room felt like a fist. That's the best way I can say it. If a room can clench, that one does. And if there's a man's meanness still in there, it'll reach out for women first. If I ever go back, I won't stand in the doorway. That's the worst place. You're half in and half out. If you're in, be in. If you're out, stay out. Hank likes the hesitation, I think." Erin ended her post with details of something that happened on one additional night. She said that 2 months after the visit, she was leaving a grocery store on a windy evening in June when something rattled the shopping cart. A flat ping, like coins. She looked down. 2 small stones had bounced out from somewhere and stopped near the front wheel. They were smooth, looking river-worn. She picked one up and it was nothing, a pebble. She put them both in the passenger seat, drove home, and forgot about them. But the next morning, they weren't there. "They probably fell on the floorboard," she wrote. "Probably one's under my seat right now, but I don't want to check." And that's it. That's her story about a night, albeit a brief one, at Malvern Manor, and what followed her home. If you ever book an overnight stay there, consider this your friendly warning. The building has a way of leaving you with more than you brought inside. And if you're inclined to stand in Hank's doorway and tell him he cannot scare you, remember Erin's advice. Don't hesitate. The threshold is where he waits.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, creepy, but
Creepy.
like, where are those pebbles?
Uh-huh. I do wonder with this story, we haven't had one of these in a while, but is Erin a Donna, a female Darren? I mean, her and her friend, they went back to that room after...
I feel like Caro was more of the
Donna?
Of the Donna, yeah. Because she wouldn't let it go until she was so scared. She's like, oh, crap. I've gone too far.
I guess I could see that. Like, you want to leave on a note where, like, you feel like you're in control. And that maybe you can, like, I don't know, say something tough, and then the thing just backs down, and then you'll feel better when you leave.
Well, I also think
you're also just poking the bear every time over and over again.
Absolutely. And also, it's like, so many things in life, like, you don't really know how you're going to handle that situation until you're in it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can sit here and say, like, oh, I wouldn't be scared, or like, oh, I would never do that. But then all of a sudden you have this opportunity, you find yourself there, and then you're just, I don't know, caught up in the moment, the adrenaline. And like you said, you want to leave feeling empowered, and it's tricky. It's really tricky.
Didn't work out for them that way.
No. I think the no running note, by the way, I didn't think it was weird. I was laughing, just like being a business owner. And
it's a liability thing.
Yep,
Nothing
handling
to do with
all of our insurance and stuff. I was like, because when you said closed-toed shoes, I was like, guaranteed somebody ran through that house in sandals
and cut their toe or
cut
something,
their toe,
right?
Slipped and fell, just like in their fear, which is completely understandable.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess if they don't write that in there, the rules, that if somebody gets scared and they run and they fall down the stairs, somehow they're liable.
Yep. Even though there's a waiver, there's always like, but it wasn't safe. It's like, well, now it's safe, and also you may not run in here.
Yeah, exactly.
The detail of this story that actually freaked me out the most was about a previous guest to the house that stood in front of a mirror.
That pulled her hair out?
And
all of it?
Plucked out all her hair. First of all, why did no one stop this? That's a lot of hair. Like, think about...
True.
Just look at my head.
I know. It's a lot of hair.
It's a lot of hair.
It's going to take a long time.
So it's not like...
little clumps.
Yeah. No. Go ahead and try and pull your own hair out. It's hard.
You'd have to do it like a few strands at a time. Ooh,
Yeah. That's usually like a stress response to something.
Yeah, like some kind of OCD with some other mental illness.
Yeah, just like a control or just,
Yeah.
Oof, that really freaked me out.
Yeah. I have a few pictures.
Okay.
Not many. This first one is just older exterior pic, undated, of Malvern Manor from nexusnewsfeed.com.
Seems pretty basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More recent exterior pic from Reddit. Another exterior pic from...
Oh, wow. That third picture looks so different than the other ones. I don't know why.
Just wait, like the really
angle?
good light and different angle. And then that was from heathertaddy.com, and then just one from Pinterest. This is Hank's room.
You got this off Pinterest?
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, I know. It showed up just doing a search for it, and that's where there was a decent shot of Hank's room.
It's so banal.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, and that's it.
Okay.
And then there was other pictures that had, like, it's funny, you can tell, like, they do seem to have a lot of those little cat balls that are, like, really light and, like, light up. Just as I was like, oh, that's a clever little thing for, like, a paranormal detection.
So smart, yeah.
Doesn't take much energy to kind of, like, push it, to move it. And then if it does move, it'll also light.
I know, I love that, because it's like a double confirmation.
Yeah. And then that's all I got for that one.
Okay. Well, where are we off to next?
Let's head to China.
Oh, yeah, China.
Most consider this next story to be nothing more than folklore, an urban legend, but others aren't so sure. If the stories are true, and a lot of people think they are, it's the kind of thing that could still happen, that does still happen today. Let's start with the origin story. Time now for the tale of painted skin. A long, long time ago, there was a man named Wong. He was an ordinary guy, had a wife, a home, and a simple life. But one afternoon, walking back from town, he saw a young woman alone on the road. And she was impossible. Her skin looked like it had never seen a blemish, a scar, or even the sun. Eyes so clear they almost glowed. Lips the color of fresh rose petals. She was the kind of beautiful that makes you completely forget what you were just doing. The kind that makes you take a step closer towards her without even realizing it. She was truly enchanting. She told Wong she'd been cast out by her family and that now she had nowhere to go. He never once questioned her claims, never asked any follow-up questions, and like a fool, he brought her home. At first, she was everything he thought she was. Soft-spoken, kind, grateful, and probably most importantly, she had a way of looking at him like he was the only man alive. His wife, unsurprisingly, loathed her. But Wong, he didn't care. From the moment he saw her, without even realizing it, she had become the only thing that truly mattered to him. But then one day, Wong came home earlier than expected. The house was quiet. He looked not for his wife, but for the young woman he couldn't stop thinking about. And when he saw her, he froze. She was sitting in front of a mirror, and hanging on a wooden frame beside her was her skin. It was empty, hollow, like someone had peeled it off in one perfect piece, and she was painting it. With a thin brush, she was coloring the lips, shading the cheeks, making the eyes bright again from the inside. Without it, not only was she not beautiful, she wasn't even human. Her grotesque body was pale, hairless, with sunken pits where her eyes should have been, and a mouth full of sharp little teeth. She looked like what she truly was, a monster. When she was done, she lifted the skin, turned it right side out, slid it over herself like silk. In seconds, she was perfect again. Wong, now afraid of what he had so coveted moments earlier, started to quietly back away. But then he let out a soft cry, and she heard it. He could tell by the way she looked at him. She knew he had seen her true form, and she began to walk towards him with menace in her perfectly painted eyes, so he ran. And she ran after him. She caught him and, with animal-like ferocity, brutally killed him. Ever since his story first began to be told, centuries ago, the woman with painted skin, if the claims are true, keeps showing up. In different towns with different names, but always the same core detail. A seemingly perfect woman, an unmatched beauty who turns out not to be a woman at all, but a creature, a monster, some sort of demon who wears a disguise made from a real beauty's flesh. Allegedly, older folks in some villages still warn, when you meet someone who looks too perfect, don't gaze too long into their eyes, because if you do, she might worm her way into your life and destroy it if you're a man. Or if you're a beautiful woman, she might decide that your skin would fit her better than it fits you. And now for one modern encounter claim. Wei swears this happened to him 3 years ago, in Shijiazhuang, a city 265 miles southwest of Beijing. He'd been living in the capital for years, working in tech. But when his father had a stroke, he took leave to come back and care for him. His dad's apartment was in one of the city's older districts, not exactly a tourist spot. Narrow streets and walkways between old brick storefronts with fading paint. Drying laundry strung across alleys, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, for better or for worse. One afternoon, Wei was walking back from the market when he claims he saw her. She was standing outside a shuttered bookstore, wearing a long cream-colored coat, her black hair shining in the winter sunlight. She looked perfect. Wei said that's the only word that fits. The most beautiful woman he had ever seen. Perfectly symmetrical face, smooth, unblemished pale skin, eyes where the white seemed almost too clear. He couldn't stop staring at her, and she smiled at him. Not the shy smile you give a stranger, but like she already knew and liked him. She asked if he could help her find an address. Her Mandarin was flawless, but there was something off about it nonetheless. It was a bit too formal. like she'd learned it from old recordings instead of from talking with everyday people. She walked with Wei for a while, pleasantly talking in her warm, easygoing manner. She said her name was Lynn, that she had just moved to the city. She told him that she had no family here and that she had just begun renting a small apartment above a nearby antique shop. She invited him to stop by sometime soon for tea, and he did. Of course he did. She was now all he could think about. The first time he visited, everything seemed normal, except much like her appearance and the way she spoke, things were just too perfect. Her apartment was spotless, strangely so, as if it were a museum and not a place where a real person actually lived. There was absolutely no clutter, no smell of cooking, no random personal stuff lying around, no dust, no stains on the floor or counters, just a faint scent of sandalwood and maybe something sharper underneath. When she poured him tea, her fingers brushed his, and they were cold. And not I just came in from outside cold, but a deep cold, like she'd been standing in a freezer. Wei was not alarmed by this, though, just something he noticed. Ice cold or not, he would have loved nothing more than to be touched by those cold hands, wherever she wanted to touch him, and for however long she wanted to touch him. Over the next couple of weeks, Wei saw her several more times, sometimes at her place for tea, sometimes they'd walk together after sharing a dinner at night. He was surprised, being such a beautiful and also delicate woman, that she never seemed nervous in dark alleys. She never flinched at stray dogs barking. Also, he noticed that she sometimes laughed at odd moments, like she was responding to something he couldn't hear. And then one evening, he noticed something else. A thin, pale line running along just below her jaw, from her chin all the way up to her ears, like a scar or a seam. He was positive it hadn't been there before. And then soon after this came the night that everything changed. It was late, maybe 1 a.m. Wei couldn't sleep and he went for a walk, and of course found himself compelled to walk towards her place. Soon he was standing in front of her building. The antique shop below was dark, but a light glowed faintly from her upstairs window. He hesitated. It was far too late for her to receive an uninvited guest, but then he walked up the narrow side stairs where the door to her apartment was slightly open. Inside was not the Lynn he knew. She was standing in front of a tall mirror, her back to him. On a rack beside her hung something. At first he thought it was clothing, then he realized it was skin. Her skin. She was pale and hairless, with deep pits where her eyes should be. Her mouth was stretched into a lipless grin, rows of small, sharp teeth visible as she hummed a tuneless song. In her hands was a brush, and she was painting the inside of the skin with it. Slow, careful strokes adding blush to the cheeks, red to the lips. Wei said he couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then she froze and tilted her head like she had just heard something, like she had just heard him. She turned around, and even without eyes, she looked right at him and smiled. Wei ran. As he fled back down the stairs, he heard the sound of something moving behind him, light footsteps, but fast. He hit the street and picked up speed, not looking back until he was in front of his father's apartment. He didn't see her. He quickly unlocked and then slammed the door behind him and locked it. Wei never saw her again, but for weeks he felt watched. Walking through the market, riding the bus, sometimes he would see a woman in a cream-colored coat in the crowd with too perfect a face, too perfect a smile, always gone before he could get close. He thinks she's still out there. That painted skin isn't just a creepy old story. And the worst part, he thinks this thing is many, that there isn't just one. He wrote that once you've seen her, you'll start to see others like her. You start noticing little things, faces that are too symmetrical, skin with no pores, people who never seem to age. Wei said he doesn't trust faces anymore, and neither should you.
That's such a creepy concept to think about, like, once you've seen it, now you see it everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Think about when you're looking to buy a new vehicle.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, I want a white Ford Ranger.
Right.
And now that's all you see.
Yep.
Everywhere you go, all the time,
Yeah.
you're seeing that vehicle.
Uh-huh.
Now put the paranormal on that, and that sucks.
I know that is creepy that like once, like if you're able to open up that door, then it stays open. And like if you're like, oh, I really want to see something, I want to have it. Not that he did, Wei did, but like if you have that experience and then you're like, now like your eye or your mind is trained to see it.
Totally.
And now you're like, oh my God, it's been here the whole time and I just didn't notice.
I like this story.
Yeah, I like the rhythm of some of these old stories. And this is a really old one. It's from 1740.
Dang.
I have the original story is.
It can either be a great paranormal story, and that's what I'm going to go with, but it can also be like a parable about not cheating on your wife.
Totally.
Like adultery and,
yeah.
like not letting Lust, get the best of you.
Not to be only fixated on physical beauty.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So
Well, yeah.
hyper fixated on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And also like whatever you have at home is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't, this beautiful person that you see,
You don't know anything about them.
you don't know what lies beneath.
Yep, totally. This is an old illustration from the early 1700s. Exact date unknown of the one with painted skin, but probably from 1740 because this was painted skin was originally a short story written by Chinese writer Pu Songling, collected in a book called Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, and that was published in 1740.
Cool.
And then this next one, just another illustration of painted skin from readc.info.
Yeah.
And then finally, a poster, a movie poster.
Ooh. I wondered if it had been made into anything.
Yeah, 2022, there was a Chinese movie called Painted Skin.
Okay, that's a cool movie poster. Really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Really cool.
Ugh. I wonder what happens, like, if you engage in a relationship with her. Like, what if you don't see her painting the skin?
I don't know.
What happens?
I don't know if in any of the stories it goes that far.
I don't know. I will not be looking for answers. All right, well, you ready to sit back, relax, and get spooked?
I am.
Okay. Do you have a Layla over there?
I do. I got my traditional one again.
Oh, yeah, OG Layla.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see what's going on with this ghost that takes directions.
Ooh, all right.
Hi, Dan and Lynze.
Hello.
I'm a peeper. As much as I'd love to be a brave creeper, I'm
it.
still scared of the dark, being home alone, and listening to the podcast with headphones on. I mean, what if the 8-foot-tall woman is right behind me?
Pull.
Anyway, I've had this story in my head for years, and it's one of my favorites to tell whenever the conversation shifts to, do you believe in ghosts? When it happened, I was probably 13 or 14 and fresh from middle school. At the time, my best friend was Lila. Lila and I spent all of our time together. She was the very best friend I ever had. Her family was my family. Her home was my home. Over the summer, we alternated between sleepovers at her house and mine. Every 3 days or so, one of our moms would miss us, so we'd switch to that house. As much as I loved Lila and her family, I did not love her house. Her family, her mom especially, are strong believers in the paranormal. Lila and her mom had both had experiences and lived close to the veil. They could feel and sometimes actually see things from the other side. Worst of all, those things would appear in their home. While staying at Lila's meant amazing home-cooked meals from her dad and free tea from her mom's boba shop, it also meant looking over your shoulder and second-guessing every little sound you heard. Since it was summer, we had a lot of free time on our hands. Both of Lila's parents work, so we were often home alone. Just us, their big dog named P, and sometimes her little sister Allison. I felt safer during the day. The things that moved about their house were quieter then, and their presence was lesser. It felt like the house was ours when the sun was out. We were sitting on her bed, doing I don't remember what, probably listening to Lana Del Rey and scrolling Tumblr, when we were interrupted by the door slowly opening. We figured her dog had butted her way in. She was massive, and bless her heart, had no brain cells, so she bumbled around and knocked into things often. But when the door opened, we didn't see P. Whatever we were doing, we decided we were sick of being interrupted and certainly didn't want to get off the bed and walk across the room and close the door ourselves. Lila asked the air in the room, "Close the door." And the door closed. We turned to look at each other, that kind of, "Are you seeing this?" look, filled with a little bit of, "What the fuck, that's so cool," and also a little of, "What the fuck, I'm scared." I got up to check the window in her room, thinking it might have been some conveniently timed wind. The window was closed. Having an idea, I said, "Can you please open the door again?" And it opened. I'm not sure about Lila, but I think I speak for us both when I say we were filled with that icy fear and the raw power of knowing you're in the middle of a moment, that defining time between the before and the after. I didn't want to lose the momentum, the trust that we had somehow built with this thing. "Shut the door." And the door shut. "Open it." And it opened. The air was thick and heavy. There was something here, and it was listening to us. It was playing along. "Shut the fucking door." And the door slammed shut. We played like this for a while. If you asked nicely, it would open slowly, without slamming. If you asked rudely, it would slam shut. If you gave directions, Open the door slowly, it would follow. That's just one of many strange encounters I had with Lila by my side. There was a shadow in the corner of her bedroom, the spirit of a boy from next door who had died by suicide, a disembodied hand. One night, she even had something break down her back door. Like I said, they were a very paranormal family, graced by many of these happenings. Lila and I fell out of touch not too long afterward. She had a series of nasty boyfriends who worked hard to isolate her. While I missed her terribly and felt her presence dearly, and still do, I still love her and her family so much, so it feels good to remember those days when we were sisters. Thank you for sharing our story. And no, Lynze, they did not get the fuck out. They continued to live in that house for years. Other than the occasional spooks, it still felt like home to them. And if you're listening, Lila, take care and know you are so very loved. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. I love that interaction with the ghost. Like that would be what a wild experience that would be to have.
Yes.
Like open the door, shut the door. Like if it never became malevolent, never escalated past that. Yeah, that would be an amazing interaction.
I know, it feels pretty benign, like creepy and a little bit scary. And I'm sure you're on eggshells for a very long time. And like Ray says, all these years later, you think of it and it's probably a little like, oh.
Yeah. Like, is it still here? Is it still around?
Yeah. Are there always things around? But like a pretty safe experience.
Yeah. God, that would be a fascinating life moment.
Yeah.
Just to have that interaction with something that you can't see, that repeatedly and with somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yes, with somebody else
the most
is always
confirmation.
That's right. And I like what she says too about it was very clear we were in this moment of before and after. It was like life before this encounter and life after this encounter.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I love that.
Me too.
Okay, let's pop into our next one.
All right.
Hello, Dan and Lynze.
Hello.
My name is Max, and I wanted to express my gratitude to both of you for keeping me on edge during my nightly commutes to work. I am employed in the oil and gas sector, and I often find myself alone in remote, wooded areas. Well, approximately 90% of the time I'm at work. By the time I arrive at my destination, I'm already in a heightened state of alertness thanks to your show. As a big fan of the supernatural, I'd like to share a chilling experience that occurred during the summer of 2004 when I was in middle school. I lived in a small border town in Texas with a population around 1,000. My friends and I frequently fished along the Rio Grande River, and we had a fantastic fishing spot located about 2 miles from town. To reach it, we would drive about a mile down a dirt road until we arrived at a cemetery nestled in the middle of a watermelon field. After passing the cemetery, we would embark on a half-mile hike to our fishing location. One evening, after a long day of fishing, my friend and I were making our way back to the cemetery when suddenly the air became still and an unsettling silence enveloped us. Out of nowhere, an amber light appeared across the river. Initially, we didn't think much of it, but as minutes passed, we noticed the light moving closer to our side and heading directly towards us. In a panic, we discarded our fishing gear and sprinted away. The freshly plowed watermelon field made it challenging to run, and with the light drawing nearer, we were overwhelmed by a strong odor reminiscent of bat droppings. Terrified and exhausted, we threw ourselves onto the field beds, hoping to hide from the light. I urged my friend to remain silent so he wouldn't be discovered. About 5 minutes, I cautiously peeked over the bed and saw the light hovering just a few feet above the ground, seemingly searching for us. Suddenly, it emitted a horrifying noise that sounded like a Tasmanian devil devouring its prey. Fear coursed through me, and I insisted we crawl back to the cemetery to avoid detection. Once we made it, we made a break for my truck and escaped. Fast forward to 2022, when I moved back to my hometown. While settling in, I shared a few drinks with my 65-year-old neighbor who recounted stories from his youth. He mentioned working at a ranch nearby on the Mexican side of the river where a mysterious light would occasionally appear. He described it as having a strong odor and producing a frightening sound. To my horror, he added that it is believed to be a witch roaming the area in search of children to devour. My heart sank as I realized that what my friend and I had encountered all those years ago might have been the very witch he spoke of, potentially seeking us as her next meal. Max.
Thank you, Max. That one, like, story, it's so funny, like, how, like, my brain will, like, categorize different types of paranormal stories.
Uh-huh.
And when it's, like, a ghost, I'm like, oh, okay, like, that would be, like, okay, like, the door interaction.
Yeah.
I'm like, that would be cool to see that. It'd be a fun story to share. And then I think if I saw, like, something that was, like a witch, like a type monster, I wouldn't, even if I was with somebody else, I don't know that I would still be convinced. I'm like, no, we went crazy. Like, it's so
Okay,
funny.
yep.
Like, if I was with somebody else and we saw a ghost, I'm like, holy shit, we saw a ghost.
Uh-huh.
If I'm with somebody else and we see, like, a flying monster, I'm like, we lost our fucking minds. We had some
That's fair. That's fair.
We had some kind of group thing. I mean, it would just mess me up in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? I would worry about my sanity. I would like, that's an encounter I would not want to have. I think that might just really mess me up and make me, like, not trust my brain.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because it's no crazier than a ghost.
True.
But it feels crazier in my brain.
Yeah, and like I thought, like anything, we're all different. So like what you're afraid of versus what
Totally.
I'm afraid of, or how it hits me, it's like my fear in seeing something like a witch, a monster, an entity. I don't think I'll ever get that vision out of my brain. I'm such a visual person that my concern is that every time I close my eyes, I see it.
Oh yeah, I think I think a ghost would scare me less. Than like a monster.
Well, because like a ghost, like, are you seeing this ghost, or you're just seeing something move, or you're just seeing like
even if I saw the ghost, like a translucent, like like that would mess me up and scare me going forward a lot less, I think, than if I saw like a fucking red-eyed monster hiding in the backyard.
Fair.
And like clearly saw like a humanoid figure or something flying through the air.
It is way creepier.
Oh man, now I can't go outside.
I stay in the inside now.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, you ready for our third of 4 tales?
I am. I'm loving these.
Okay, fun. Hello, my scare buddies.
Hello.
You're both awesome, and I love your podcast.
That's nice.
My neighbor and second mom passed away not long ago from the cancer she had been fighting for years. I loved her dearly and will never forget the love and kindness her and her family showed me and my 2 brothers. I have such great memories of having slumber parties with her girls and watching scary movies, and Patty telling us ghost stories. Most were made up for our benefit, just to scare us, but one story she told was different, and she assured us every word was true. I believed her because the way she told it, it was like telling a distant memory. It's not a long story, but I wanted to tell it to you in hopes it will give you chills and keep her story alive. First, I would like to tell you a little bit about her interesting start to life. She was a tiny preemie born in her parents' home, and back then, they did not give much hope for survival and did not have many options in the way of helping. Her mother refused to let her go, so she was placed lovingly in a shoebox and put on the open door of the oven, which was kept on a low temperature, but enough to keep her little body warm. Her mom patiently fed her small and frequent amounts and gave her so much love. Needless to say, it was her lifesaver. She lived a great life with her husband and 3 kids whom I grew up with. She grew up in a small town in Arkansas with her mom and dad and little sister Pam. They were typical sisters that loved each other but would tell on the other one in an instant just to get them in trouble. The house was not huge but was a 2-story farmhouse and had plenty of space outside for the 2 girls to play and find trouble. Out front was a large field with a pond which the girls were told never to go into without their parents. The girls listened until one morning. Patty woke and ate her breakfast, anxious to get outside and see what adventures awaited for her that day. She went outside with her mom's warning to stay in the yard. While playing, she looked out into the field, wondering what things she could find out there when she saw a little girl standing by the pond. It wasn't just any little girl, it was her sister Pam. She quickly yelled out, telling her she better get back in the yard or she was going to get it. Her sister replied, "No, Patty, it's okay. Mommy said I could. Come play with me. I'm having so much fun." Patty, intrigued, but not enough to get in trouble, ran inside to tell on her sister. Mommy! Pam is by the pond. I told her to come back, but she said that you said she could, but I don't believe her." Her mom, looking concerned and a bit puzzled, told Patty her sister was in her room playing with her dolls and had been all morning. Naturally, Patty ran upstairs to check. She threw open the bedroom door, expecting the room to be empty, but instead heard her sister scream, startled from the door. Patty, confused, ran back downstairs and out the door where she immediately checked the field. Her eyes found the little girl who was looking back at her, smiling and waving. Patty didn't know what to think. She watched as the little girl skipped off into the woods and disappeared. She never saw her again, but always wondered what might have happened if she had listened to that little girl. Thanks for listening and happy scaring. Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, that creepy little doppelganger story.
And like in a different way, I feel like just like that, like the distance between them. And I guess when I think of doppelgangers, I think of like more immediate interactions, like they're in your bathroom, they're in your house, like this just
out in a field.
Yeah, like truly the physical distance. I was like, I can't really think of because like just in reality, I could be in a grocery store and look across and be like, oh, I think I see Liz. And then I'm oh no, that's somebody who just has dark hair. But like in this scenario, I don't know, it just freaked me out.
Yeah, little glitch in the matrix, little simulation.
Yep, another version of her sister out there.
My favorite part of that story had nothing to do with the paranormal.
Okay.
It was describing like Patty as a preemie.
I know.
In a shoebox on the oven on low heat, essentially.
Isn't that amazing?
And then mom just feeding her like tiny little bit. I'm like, oh, that's adorable. It had like the vibe of like finding like a bird that fell out of a nest, like a baby bird, and then nursing it back to health, but like an actual human.
I was just thinking about your sister's unfortunate
I know, that didn't
twist.
go well. I know. We should just say, just really quick, I can do a very quick summary of the story. My sister found a little wounded, like, I don't know if you wounded, but like a baby bird that fell out of its nest. Yeah. So her and then her daughter, who is, I think, Birdie? 12. 12, yeah, 12.
Ironically nicknamed Birdie.
Birdie, So they take the little bird home in the backyard. They're going to like nurse it back to health. And then it's Birdie and then her older brother Emerson, who's 17, and then her dad Jared and like the whole family. And then they have this dog Lola, a big German Shepherd, very playful but huge dog, big teeth. And Lola decided to go play with the bird. Accidentally later that day, as they're like planning like the whole recovery for this bird, somebody messed up and let the dog out, and Lola played with the little bird to death. So they
played a little too hard.
It was quite the emotional roller coaster for Birdie, the girl, where it's like, oh my God, this poor bird. Oh my, yes, we're going to like nurse it back to health.
And she is, our niece Birdie is like the sweetest little thing. And like, she really is a little like Snow White, Mary Poppins vibe. Just like, I'm going to heal it back to health. And like, she would have been such a good bird mommy to it. And then like helped it fly away when it was ready. And she's a nurturer.
So it was like finding the wounded bird. Oh my gosh, we can save it. Yes, really, Mom, we can take it home. Starting to build the birdhouse, and then funeral. All in about like 5-6 hours.
That's rough. That's rough. All right. Last and final.
All right, here we go.
Hello, King of the Suck and Queen of the Spoops.
Hello.
Hail Nimrod and hail Lucifina. I've been a fan of everything bad magic ever since I discovered Time Suck way back in the middle of the pandemic.
Thank you.
So first off, thank y'all for everything you do. When I was young, I was definitely a peeper. I, like Dan, hated clowns because I too watched Stephen King's It on VHS way too young. But the following encounter set me on my current path of creeperdom. Time now for the tale of the Weeping Woman. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I was staying over at my cousin's 2-story townhouse for the night. We planned on pulling an all-nighter and had tons of snacks and his Nintendo 64 hooked up to the TV downstairs. We were sitting on sleeping bags in the middle of the floor after we had pushed the coffee table back to butt up against the front of the couch. The entertainment center was against the wall dividing the living space from the dining kitchen area, and to our left were the stairs that led up to the bedrooms. To the right of the entertainment center was the front door, and along that adjacent wall was a large bay window with very thin, albeit opaque, curtains. Through that window and across the street was a street lamp tall enough to be level with the second story of the townhome and was just dim enough so as to not fill the room with light. Sometime after midnight, my cousin had crashed out. I was playing games at a low volume so as to not wake up my aunt and uncle upstairs. The game I was playing started to glitch out, so naturally, I turned the console off, took the cartridge out, and blew out any dust that might be causing the game to glitch. Just as I turned the console off, I heard what sounded like a soft moan coming from outside. With each moan, it seemed like it was getting closer and ever so slightly louder. I shook my cousin awake, and he heard the moan too, which at this point began to sound like a woman sobbing. His cat, who had been sleeping on the couch behind us, was suddenly spooked. It hissed at the window and then darted off up the stairs. We looked at the window curtains and saw the silhouette of a person gliding slowly from left to right, just as the sobbing grew clearly audible. The sobbing was definitely coming from whatever was casting that silhouette. We scrambled upstairs into his bedroom, which was above the kitchen and had one large window looking out towards the street. We both sat on the bottom bunk of his bunk beds and could still clearly hear the sobbing woman outside. We each peeled back a side of the flimsy curtain, both of us very much afraid of what we'd see. There, across the street, under the street lamp, was the figure of a woman in a white, veiled gown, seemingly gliding above and along the sidewalk. We didn't see any legs or feet, but could see that there was a gap from the bottom of the gown to the sidewalk beneath her. Once the figure was directly underneath the street lamp, it vanished into thin air, and the sobbing immediately stopped. Needless to say, we didn't sleep for the rest of the night and kept asking each other about what we saw, affirming that we did in fact experience what we had. This encounter has stuck with me vividly for the past 23 plus years. Even typing it out now has given me goosebumps upon recalling the details of that night. Stay spoopy, Justin.
Thank you, Justin. Another creepy story.
And we've seen this woman before, or a version of this, you know?
Yeah, like actually that version of this like ghost shows up across like cultures all around the world. You know, like in Europe, Asia, Latin America, up here, North America. I mean, everywhere. Hawaii, that lady, like, you know, like on the road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the lady in the white dress.
I don't want to see her.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, like a woman scorned. Having been a scorned woman, maybe I just am like, oh, I don't want to like encounter her wrath.
That energy, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm driving home like late at night, which is so rare that I'd be driving home late at night without you.
Yeah.
But just as I like come down our street, I'm like, oh God, please no. It's like it's an image that just pops into your head. You know? I don't know. It's just strange.
Yeah, it is like one of like the classic like, you know, ghost images going back into like Victorian, you know, ghost stories and just all around the world. It's like, yeah, why? And there's theories, you know, that like, you know, for people who don't believe that it's like a social thing of like, you know, how women are coveted, you know, the white, like virginal something. There's all kind of, but it's weird that it keeps showing up in the modern day, you know, when it's like we have different norms, different cultural expectations, but yet this same image just keeps popping up. Yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, I mean, well, some of us have different expectations. Some of us are still stuck in that era.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So maybe she sticks around for them.
Yeah, not everyone's evolving the same way.
Or at all.
Do you want to thank some Annabelles?
I do.
All right.
Big thanks to our Annabelles who make this possible. Joanna, a.k.a. the Batty Witch.
Nice.
Teresa Combs. Cody LaPlace. Brianna Wirtz. Tim Rasmussen. Lynn Carter. Crunchwrap Supreme Queen. Parenthetical Effie. I fucking love a Crunchwrap Supreme. It is there are two things that I only ever care about from Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Cinnamon Twists.
Yeah.
Crunchwrap Supreme.
All right.
Spencerino. Sean Dunlap. And Jeanette Hatcher.
Nice.
Nice.
And I would like to thank the following Annabelles for supporting us here at Scared to Death. Jose Trujillo. Hallow Queen. Aaron Barnes. Eric Knox. Schuler Ryan. So maybe it's Ryan Schuler. They just kind of flipped it around. Clara Woolwind. Eric Thomason. Just Stacy. Serenity Ophelia. And I like this Boosgumps. That's a nice little twist on Goosebumps. And you got some spooky shout outs?
I actually don't.
Okay.
I think just because we're ahead,
Yeah.
it's funny. Like I had them last week and I have them next week, but sometimes there are these weeks throughout the year that are just not pertinent to our audience.
There you go. Well, then that's our show. That was a lot of horror packed into it was a very, very dense show, I feel like. Thanks for continuing to send in your personal tales of terror to mystory@scaredtodeathpodcast.com. You can email us for everything else. info@scaredtodeathpodcast.com. Thank you to Logan Keith scoring today's show. Thanks to Heather Rylander organizing the My Story emails. To book editor Drew Atana polishing and preparing listener stories for book number 7. I was able to find both of this week's stories. We're on Facebook and Instagram, where we post pics that accompany episodes and more at Scared to Death Podcast. We also have a private Facebook group, Creeps and Peepers full of fellow horror lovers, moderated by the all-seeing eyes.
I also want to just say our mods and admins, I'm in a group chat with them.
Yeah,
and
they're great. They're so supportive.
They're the freaking best. I think I could just burst into tears right now just talking about how great they are. I had a really rough couple of days. Listen, we are, I guess, public figures. And so that just makes us easy targets for scrutiny for any number of things.
Yeah.
And whatever. It was a hard couple of days being...
Yeah, there's just some shitty comments out there.
Yeah. There's entire Reddit threads about how much I suck. And
you don't suck.
I wasn't even looking for it. And I was Googling something and it came up and I was like, wait, what? And I did. I was a good sport about it. I laughed.
You were, yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, definitely, anyways. I was sharing it with the mods and the admins, and they were just the absolute fucking best about it.
So thank you, mods.
They were so sweet and so loving and so supportive. And then also they were like, well, hold on, did you see this? This person came to your defense and don't only focus on the negative. And it is just a reminder for all of us here, that this community actually is so incredible. So if you're not in the Facebook group, it's actually pretty special. And, our Discord, which is really based in time suck, but there's a lot of fan crossover. This community is really unique. And I hope that, in 2025, when things feel like they're spiraling out of control, you can find some comfort and camaraderie in the bad magic community.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done now.
Nah, you are awesome.
Oh, I'm fine. I don't even care.
Enjoy your nightmares, creeps and peepers. You're awesome too.
Yes, you are. Thank you for holding us up. We love you.
Yeah, I hope you were scared to death.
Bye.
If spirits threaten me in this place, fight water by water and fire by fire. Banish their souls into nothingness and remove their powers until the last trace. Let these evil beings flee through time and space. Evil may pass through, but hath no home here within, scared to death.
Bad Magic Productions.
Oh man, now I can't go outside.
I stay in the inside now.
Yeah.